Hello, everybody. It's time for English. Are you ready? Of course, you are ready. Welcome to my class. My name is Зорица Миладиновиќ, and I'm going to be your English teacher today. So, what are we going to do today? As you can see here, we are going to talk about the zero conditional. Danas ćemo pričati o nultom tipu kondicionalnih ili uslovnih rečenica. So, in this particular lesson, we are going to talk about the form and the use of the zero conditional. Najpre ćemo pričati o građenju i upotrebi nultog kondicionala. Then, we are going to revise simple present tense, since simple present tense is very important for forming the zero conditional. Podsjetit ćemo se simple present tense jer je on jako važan za građenje nultog kondicionala. And in the end, we are going to do some practices together. Na kraju uradit ćemo zajedno neka vežbanja. So let's start with the form of the zero conditional. Zero conditional and conditional sentences in general consist of if clause and the main clause. Nulti tip kondicionalnih rečenica, kao i svaka druga uslovna rečenica, sastoji se od if rečenice ili uslova i glavne rečenice, odnosno main clause. So, when we talk about if clause, we must say that it always starts with if or when, and the verb is in simple present tense. Kada pričamo o if delu, on uvek počinje ili sa if ili sa when. Vi sami, deco, možete da izaberete šta ćete od ova dva upotrebiti, a glagol je uvek u simple present tense. On the other hand, the main clause is in simple present tense as well. Sa druge strane imamo glavnu rečenicu koja je takođe u simple present tense. Now, let's look at the example. What does it say? We have example here which says, if or when the tooth is broken, it hurts. As you can see, this first part is the if clause. If or when the tooth is broken. The verb is in simple present tense. The second part, it hurts, is the main clause, and the verb hurt is also in simple present tense. Let's find the meaning of this sentence. Ako, kada je zub pokvaren, on boli. I have another example for you. When he drinks too much coffee, he doesn't sleep. What is the if sentence here? Well, of course, this is the if sentence, but now I started the sentence with when, and the verb is in simple present tense, of course. The main clause is this one. He doesn't sleep. The verb sleep is in simple present tense as well, but now we have the negative form. Now, what is the meaning of this sentence? Kada pije mnogo kafe, on ne može da spava. These two examples show us that simple present tense is very important for zero conditional. Ova dva primjera nam jasno pokazuju da je simple present tense jako važan za građenje nultog tipa kondicionalnih rečenica. So right now we are going to talk about the forming of the simple present tense. How do we form the affirmative form? Kako gradimo potvrdan oblik? It is very simple. When we have I, you, we, or they, we just add the verb and that's it. Kada imamo lica I, you, we, they, samo napišemo glagol i završili smo posao. For example, I watch Netflix. Ja gledam Netflix. And that's it. On the other hand, when we have the third person singular, he, she, or it, then we must add s or es ending on the verb. Sa druge strane, kada imamo treće lice jednine, tačnije he, she ili it, tada moramo na glagol da stavimo nastavak s ili es. For example, he watches Netflix. On gleda Netflix. This is very easy. That's why we call this tense simple, because it is very simple to form it. Are you ready for the negative form? Very good. Now, again, when we have I, you, we, or they, and we want to have the negative form, we must use don't plus verb. For example, I don't watch Netflix. Ja ne gledam Netflix. This sentence is I watch, ja gledam, but when we put don't, we get the negative form. I don't watch Netflix. Kada dodamo don't, mi smo dobili odričan oblik. For the third person singular, he, she, or it, we need doesn't to make the negative form. For example, he doesn't watch Netflix. On ne gleda Netflix. But what do you see here? You see here that the verb watch is without es ending. Why? Well, again, it is very simple because we used doesn't. When we use doesn't, we don't need endings anymore. Znači, kao što primećujete, deco, na glagolu watch više nemamo nastavak s, kao što smo ga imali u potvrdnom obliku. A zašto? Pa veoma je lako. Kad god upotrebimo doesn't, mi više nemamo potrebe ni za kakvim nastavcima. Glagol je tada čist. And let's talk about the question form in simple present tense. How do we make questions? Well, again, when we have I, you, we, or they, we start the question with do, then we have the subject plus verb. Kada želimo da napravimo upitan oblik za ova lica, pitanje počinjemo sa do, pa onda subjekat, znači ko to vrši radnju, i onda glagol. For example, do you watch Netflix? Da li ti gledaš Netflix? If you cover do, you get the affirmative sentence, you watch Netflix. Ako bismo, deco, pokrili ovo do, mi bismo dobili potvrdnu rečenicu, ti gledaš Netflix. Ali čim stavimo do ispred, mi smo dobili upitan oblik. Jel vidite da nije ništa teško? On the other hand, when we have he, she, or it, we start the question with does, then we put the subject, he, she, it, plus verb. For example, does he watch Netflix? Da li on gleda Netflix? Again, we don't have es ending on the verb. Why? Well, it is because we use does. Zašto nemamo nastavak s na glagolu ponovo? Pa zato što smo upotrijebili does. Dakle, deco, nastavak s ili es u trećem licu jednine koristimo samo u potvrdnom obliku. Čim napravimo upitan ili odričan oblik, tačnije, čim upotrebimo does ili doesn't, nastavak se sa glagola gubi, nema ga više. Is this simple or what? Of course it is. So, since we have said everything about simple present tense, we can move on and talk about the use of the zero conditional. When do we use the zero conditional? Well, we can use it for general truths, habits, and scientific facts. Dakle, nulti tip kondicionalnih rečenica možemo koristiti za istinitosti, navike ili naučno dokazane činjenice. Here is the example for you. As you can see in this picture, we have the sun, we have some melting ice, and the example says, if you heat ice, it melts. Kada zagrevaš led, on se topi. So, what condition is this? Is this general truth, habit, or a scientific fact? Well, I believe it is a scientific fact as well as general truth. On the other hand, you can also use the zero conditional to give instructions and advice. Sa druge strane, nulti kondicional možemo koristiti za davanje uputstava i saveta. Now, we have a teacher and a student. And the teacher asks, what do you get if you mix red and white Kelly? Šta dobijaš kada pomešaš crvenu i belu Kelly? What does she say? She says, you get pink. Dobijamo roze boju. So, what is important to say about the use? It is very important to say that in these sentences, we have to meet the condition for the action to happen. Šta to znači? Mi, deco, moramo da ispunimo neki uslov da bi se radnja dogodila. Zato se i ove rečenice zovu uslovne rečenice. Sam naziv kaže, mora da postoji neki uslov da bi se radnja realizovala. What is the condition in this sentence? To heat the ice. Uslov u ovoj rečenici je da zagrejemo led, jer ako ga ne zagrejemo, radnja se neće realizovati, led se neće istopiti. Sa druge strane, šta je uslov da dobijemo roze boju? Uslov je da pomešamo crvenu i belu. Now, what is important to say again? It is important to say that we can separate the two clauses with a comma when the if clause is before the main clause. Šta sada ovo znači, deco? Ovo znači da kada pišemo ove rečenice, mi treba da ih odvojimo zarezom, ali samo pod jednim uslovom, a uslov je da if deo stoji na početku. Evo i primjera. If you drop the ball, zarez, it bounces. Dakle, dve rečenice if deo i glavnu rečenicu smo odvojili zarezom pod uslovom jedinim, a to je da if deo stoji na početku. So, I have a question for you now. What do you think? Can we change the order of these two sentences? Can we put the main clause first and then the if clause? What do you think? Very good, children. Of course we can. So, you can change the order of the clauses, but then you don't separate them with the comma. Šta sada ovo znači? Ovo znači, deco, da redosled rečenica mi možemo da promenimo, ali tada ne stavljamo zarez. Znači, ako je glavna rečenica na početku, a potom slijedi if deo, tada ne stavljamo zarez. So let's read the example. The ball bounces if you drop it. Lopta odskače kada je ispustiš. And we have to talk about the question form in the zero conditional. Again, I have a question for you. Can we make question form in the zero conditional? Of course we can. You can form questions only with the main clause. The question is never in the if clause. Mi možemo, deco, da napravimo upitan oblik u ovom tipu rečenica, ali samo u glavnom delu rečenice. if deo nikada ne pravi upitan oblik. Now, let's look at the example. As you can see here, we have the example which says, if you get sick, do you stay in bed? Kada se razboliš, da li ostaješ u krevetu? We started the question with if clause, which is affirmative form, but the main clause is in question form, and since we have the person you, we put do to make the question form. Kao što primećujete, deco, rečenicu smo započeli if delom koja je u potvrdnom obliku, a glavna rečenica je naravno u upitnom obliku i s obzirom da imamo lice you, mi smo upotrijebili do da napravimo upitan oblik. Now, let's look at the same example but written in the third person singular. It says, if she gets sick, does she stay in bed? Kada se ona razboli, da li ostaje u krevetu? Again, we have the if clause in the beginning in affirmative form, and the main clause is in question form. Since we have the third person singular, she, we had to put does to make the question. S obzirom da je sada, deco, treće lice jednine, odnosno she, mi smo ovdje morali upitan oblik da napravimo sa does. Now, I will show you the examples with the changed order of the sentences. Sada ću vam pokazati primjere sa promijenjenim redosledom rečenica. Look, right now I have the example when the main clause is in the beginning of the sentence and then we have the if clause. Dakle, sada ovdje imam primjer gdje sam rečenicu započela glavnom rečenicom, a tek onda usleđuje if deo. Do you ask for direction when you get lost? Znači imamo upitan oblik u glavnom delu, do you ask, zarez sada ne stavljamo i imamo if deo, iako sam ja sad upotrijebila when, on se i dalje zove if deo, a to je when you get lost. Da li pitaš za pravac kada se izgubiš? And again, the same sentence in third person singular. Does he ask for direction when he gets lost? Since I have here he, I put does. And here on the verb, I have the s ending on get. S obzirom da je sada treće lice jednine, pitanje sam morala da počnem sa does, a ovdje sam na glagol stavila normalno nastavak s. So I hope you understand everything about the zero conditional, and I believe it is the perfect timing to do the first activity for this type of sentences. In this particular activity, you have to match the two parts of the sentences to make the zero conditional. On one side, you have the beginnings, and on the other side, you have the endings of the sentence. U ovom zadatku, sa jedne strane imamo početak rečenice, sa druge strane završetak, a naš zadatak je da vidimo šta se sa čime uklapa. So, let's read the beginnings, da pročitamo početke. If it rains, the engine starts. If I drink too much coffee, do you always watch comedies? If plants don't get water, my teacher gets angry. And on the other side we have they die, I take the bus to school, when you feel sad, I get a headache, if you turn the key, when I'm late for school. So, are you ready to start and do the first sentence? If it rains, what do you think? What is the correct ending for the sentence number 1? What do you think? Is it, if it rains, they die? Of course not. If it rains, oh, very good. I take the bus to school. Kada pada kiša, ja idem autobusom u školu. Let's move on and look at sentence number 2. The engine starts. Motor startuje. When does it start? When you feel sad? Of course not. What is it then? Excellent. If you turn the key. Motor startuje kada okrenemo ključ, što je i normalno. Number 3. If I drink too much coffee, what happens? What is it? Very good. I get a headache. Kada pijem puno kafe, imam glavobolju. Number 4. Do you always watch comedies? What is the proper ending? This one, or that one? Excellent, it is this one. When you feel sad. Da li uvek gledaš komedije kada si tužan? Well, I do. Number 5. If plants don't get water. Very good. They die. Kada biljke ne dobijaju dovoljnu količinu vode, one se osuše. And number 6. My teacher gets angry. Oh, when does my teacher get angry? Shh, when I'm late for school. Yes. My teacher gets angry when I'm late for school. Moja nastavnica se ljuti kada kasnim u školu. So children, don't be late for school, please. Very good. So right now we have another activity to do. As you can see here, we have some picture of a baby crying. We have some dyed flowers. Oh, this is a nice one. We have some food we love. And the last picture is with the children in front of the laptop. So what are we supposed to do in this activity? Well, it is very simple. We have to use the given phrases and words to make the zero conditional. U ovom zadatku je potrebno da upotrebimo date izraze i riječi kako bismo napravili nulti tip kondicionalnih rečenica. So we have the example, the baby, be hungry, he cry. Treba da kažemo da kada je beba gladna, ona plače. How are we going to say that? Well, it is very simple. We are going to start the sentence with if or when. Rečenicu ćemo započeti sa if ili when, and then we're going to say like this. When the baby is hungry, he cries. So, who is going to do the sentence number 2? We have you, not water, plants, they die. This is an easy one. We had this example in the previous activity, remember? Oh, you paid attention. Very good. If you don't water plants, they die. Now, this food, what are we going to do with it? What does the example say? You eat too much junk food. Ti jedeš previše loše hrane. What happens? You gain weight. Dobijaš na težini. So, what are we going to do to make the zero conditional? Who wants to tell me? Very good. If you eat too much junk food, you gain weight. So, don't eat too much junk food, only a little, from time to time. Number 4. You put your hand in a fire ti staviš ruku u vatru. You get burned. Naravno da ćeš da se opečeš. So, what are we going to say? Excellent. When you put your hand in a fire, you get burned. And for the last picture, we have the phrases you spend a lot of hours in front of a screen. Ti provodiš dosta sati ispred ekrana. Your eyes get tired. Oči ti se umaraju. What are we going to do to make the zero conditional? What are we going to say? Very good. When you spend a lot of hours in front of a screen, your eyes get tired. As you can see, children, zero conditional is not too difficult to form it. Kao što vidite, nulti kondicional uopšte nije težak za građenje. And you're getting better and better. Vi ste sve bolji i bolji. So, since you are very good, you have homework to do, your favorite activity, right? Well, this is not a difficult homework for you. You have 5 sentences here, and you can see each sentence has got verbs in brackets and some gaps. What are you supposed to do? Well, you have to put those verbs into the simple present tense to make the zero conditional. You have to mind and pay attention should you put S on the verb or not. And you have to pay attention when you have the negative or the question form. So during the next lesson, we are going to check this homework. U toku sljedeće lekcije mi ćemo provjeriti ovaj domaći zadatak zajedno, da vidimo kako ste ga uradili, da li ste imali nekakvih poteškoća, a šta je važno ovdje, deco, da zapamtite, a to je da glagole koji su u zagradi treba da stavite u simple present tense, što znači da treba da razmišljate da li na glagol da stavimo nastavak s ili ne i da povedemo računa ako imamo odričan ili upitan oblik. Well, I believe that this is a piece of cake for you, right? Of course it is. Well, believe it or not, this is the end of today's lesson. I want to thank you for your attention and for being with me today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next time. So, goodbye for now.